Hi, and welcome to another live Google Hangout. I'm Dr. Jay Harness, Medical Director at Breast Cancer Answers. And you know, today is a real treat. I love doing these live Google Hangouts, but it's not often that I get to interview somebody who I've actually seen as a patient, nor do I get to interview somebody who's given me a personalized copy of her book. And this wonderful book is called Pink Lemonade, a jubilant survivor story about overcoming life's challenges and emerging triumphantly. And it's a real pleasure today to welcome Tamara K. Severin. Tamara, welcome to a live Google Hangout.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, listen, I had the pleasure of having you here in my office a while ago, and it was a real treat to see you. Why don't we share with everybody your story, because your story obviously relates to all breast cancer patients.
Okay. Well, it's been going on 8 years now, so I'm happy to be one of those jubilant survivors. But when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was sort of a crazy thing. As you know, it springs forth from somewhere we're never expecting. My mother did not have cancer, my grandmother did not, and I don't have any sisters, so it was sort of shocking. But I also found out that I had tumors in both breasts. So the health care that I had was immediately, moving forward and going to remove them both. And along with that, the surgeon at the time said that he wanted to remove all of my lymph nodes. And of course, that was a shocking announcement. And I remember talking to my friend that had gone with me to the appointment, and she said, I don't think that's right. So we shared that information with another friend, and she said, absolutely not. And that's how I actually came to meet you, is that second friend sprung into action and got me that second opinion with you. So thanks to you, and thanks to the time that I spent with you and being able to make a logical decision, I was able to get a different surgeon who said, no, I don't think so. I think we need to do a sentinel node test first and see what's going on there. And so that was huge, huge. So from the mastectomy, and certainly I recovered well from that because of the sentinel node test, there were no lymph nodes affected at all. So I recovered from that. I went on to do 3 months of chemo, and then because they found a third tumor that they didn't know about, I then went on to do radiation for a couple of months. So it was a long haul, and then finally a couple of years later I was able to get reconstruction, and that was an ordeal in itself, as I'm sure you've heard many stories. And so here we are almost 8 years later, and I'm happy it's behind me, but boy, did I learn a lot, and I hoped to share a lot of what I learned, and that's why I wrote the book.
Oh, good for you. No, that's a terrific story, and yes, I do remember seeing you for the second opinion. So I know one of the real themes in your book, which is just spectacular, by the way, is the theme of the importance of a second opinion. Do you want to comment on that? Because I know it's one of the points you make strongly in the book.
Yes, it was huge, and really throughout the entire ordeal, it's important to have second opinions. For me with you, it was sort of a deal breaker with what I was going through when you said to me, no, it doesn't have to be this way. And you can only do so much research on your own. You can only go to so many websites. You can only talk to so many friends. There comes a point when you really need an expert, and I felt that you were that expert. But there are people out there that really, and I quote you when you said, I live, breathe, and sleep breasts. I thought, that's the man I need. So
yeah, let's not take that. Let's not take that out of context now.
I remember we giggled about that later.
Let me reframe that just a little bit here, but I appreciate that's great. I appreciate what you said. Actually, at my own personal website, drjharness.com, we have an expression, Tamara, that you'd be interested in. It's called "We Live You." And I think that's what you're saying. Not only have I focused for 30 years, as well as other colleagues around the country, on breast cancer, but the key here is we're embracing you, where we want to personalize the care that you're going to be getting. And one of the major themes that Breast Cancer Answers is that not one size fits all. nor, quite frankly, are all surgeons equally trained and equally up to speed, particularly in light of oncoplastic approach to what we're doing, including, amazingly, even 8 years ago, the sentinel lymph node biopsy, which was well established at that point in time. So in addition to the concept of a second opinion, one of the things that I've harped on for 30 years is called the multidisciplinary approach. In
Yes.
other words, it takes a team of people to treat most patients with breast cancer. Typically, that team does indeed include a surgeon, but usually a medical oncologist for anti-hormone therapy or chemotherapy like you had, radiation oncologists, plastic surgeons, physical therapists, social workers, a variety of people. So you did indeed have a second opinion with me, which was game-changing for you. But also for those who are being cared in a multidisciplinary setting, often you kind of have a built-in second opinion. Would you support what I'm saying on that, kiddo?
Oh my goodness, don't get me started on that because that was part of the problem. It didn't seem like any of my doctors didn't even know each other, much less bother to look at the records before I walked in. They were asking me all of the information that should have been in my report. They were completely oblivious of one another, and I went through two different plastic surgeons who absolutely didn't talk to each other, and so that created a whole problem later, but it was an ongoing issue that nobody seemed to know what was going on but me. And luckily, I'm that kind of person that I do a lot of research, and I have a couple of girlfriends that also are research rats, and they were coming together with this sort of global plan for myself, but not coming from my doctors.
Wow, that's really interesting. I was privileged 30 years ago to be the medical director of getting the breast center at the University of Michigan going. It was a multidisciplinary breast center. Literally everybody came together at one place at one time, one day a week. We all interacted with each other. That was in 1985. I think around 1988 we put out the book called Breast Cancer Collaborative Management. And really, so we're talking, what, 27 years ago we were beating this drum for not only doctors talking to each other, but interacting with each other at a multidisciplinary conference like we do here every week, but communicating, talking, passing the patient along, making this a continuum of care that not only begins with the initial diagnosis, but continues into years of survivorship. So you got me on my horse. I'm sorry, but I just really needed to beat that drum, and thanks for bringing it up. Tamara, you've got in this book, it isn't just about second opinion. You've got several other caveats in here about the survivor story. And tell us more about the theme and tell us what you're doing now as far as lecturing and teaching and what have you.
Okay, thanks. One of the reasons why I wrote the book is because I received several books when I was first diagnosed, and a couple of them were lovely, and they were personal stories, but they were very shallow. I hate to use the word shallow, but they were very soft. They were just sort of, la la la, and then my friend came to visit me, and I'll survive this. But I didn't really get any meat or understanding of what they were going through in the process. So I wanted to give the recently diagnosed woman a book that she could read and say, oh, I never realized I could do that. For instance, when I had to fly out of state to have my reconstruction, I never realized the American Cancer Society would have set me up with an airplane ticket. I realized that too late. I had already spent all the money for myself and my caregiver to fly to New Orleans. So there were things like that that I learned along the way. So I wanted to inspire and give tidbits of information to that woman to say, look, and here's what's going to make it easier. Just like we talked about having a whole support system of doctors, you really have access to some things that are out there that until you're thrown into the midst of it, you don't know, and sometimes that's too late. So I sprinkle throughout the book a lot of ideas of, did you know about this? Did you know about that? Can you get a hold of this person because they can help you in this way? There are companies out there that will come in and clean your house because you're going through cancer. So I learned about things like that. The other side of it is that as I had a lot of friends that were trying to support me, some of them were amazing, and others wanted to help me, but they didn't know how. And as I say jokingly, whenever I lecture and give presentations, really, how many casseroles can one have in one's freezer? So there are a lot of things that you could be doing for the person, and it doesn't involve food. Some things involve food, which, by the way, I will share. One of the loveliest gifts we received was a gift card for over $200. I think it was like $250, whatever they accrued, and it was a group of friends that we don't see very often. And they sent us a get well card, support card with this gift card so we could go online and order gourmet meals. And when I was having radiation, that's what my husband and son lived off of. They would just order it, and every week the meals would come, and they were fabulous meals. What a great, thoughtful gift. So, again, it was a food gift, but it wasn't a casserole in the freezer. So there were a lot of ideas for people who want to support that person, and I put those into the book. And when I speak now, I do a lot of retreats and speaking engagements. I talk about those things, and I also have a handout that I give that's 50 of the best things you can do for someone who's going through breast cancer.
Oh, really? No kidding. Now, is that available, that handout, at your website?
That is. It's on PDF on my website, tamarakseverin.com, and I also do a newsletter about every 2 or 3 months, sort of quarterly, and I also have a professional Facebook page where I'm constantly updating and putting things like sugar-free recipes, just things from your site that I find that really anyone would benefit from. And that was something else that I learned, that sugar is our enemy, and that because of the inflammation it adds to our body, that keeps us from fighting disease. So that was a huge change I made in my life after going through this experience. I said, you know what, I don't need the sugar. It's really white poison. So I post a lot of recipes for desserts and things that are still yummy, but there's no sugar.
I love it. We would love to have a copy of your PDF at Breast Cancer Answers. We're always looking for additional resources that we can share with people. I have a very basic PDF at the website right now about, things questions you should be asking of your doctor and things of that sort. Also, Tamara, you'd be interested in this. There is a new app out now. It's called My Breast Cancer Journey. The app is available at the Apple Store, and also at Google, whatever it's called, Google Play Store or whatever. The concept of the app is that we will upload to people at each step along the way vetted documents from the National Cancer Institute, American Cancer Society, and others that can be loaded onto your iPad, onto your Droid pad, that help you each step along the way, including questions to ask your doctor, etc. These kind of tidbits, I would be most interested in having a copy of that. It may be something we will want to incorporate into this app. We're just at the beginnings of this app. I'm working with a gentleman here in Orange County, California, who's the developer of it, and it's called My Breast Cancer Journey app. So we absolutely want to share that. Tell us more about your newsletter. What kinds of things do you put in your newsletter?
Well, in the newsletter, I try to update people of what I've been doing and give them links to things that are coming up. My book is available, and so I send a link out, and it's an electronic newsletter, so they can get the book if they're unable to attend one of my presentations. And I try to share things that I've run across. For instance, there's a woman I've been following who just wrote a book about being sugar-free, so I posted information about her whole book there, and I post things that I shouldn't say post, I put in the newsletter just different things that I'm running across. So it's sort of a compilation of all of the different tidbits that I've gathered over the last couple of months, along with information about where they can find me speaking or have me come in to their groups. And I have to say, I wish I had had that type of an application or information when I was going through it. What a fabulous app to have. I just think that would be a must-have. Again, that would be a game changer for someone, because that's the biggest feeling, is that you've been thrown into something you would never imagine, and you don't know which way to turn first. So just having that tool, what a fabulous idea. Kudos to
Well,
doing
thank you.
that.
Now, if I remember correctly, you're right here in Orange County along with myself, right?
I am. I am. I'm
Okay.
in Irvine, California.
Yep. So you and I are going to get together after this hangout, and I'll have you meet the gentleman who's working on the development of the app. I think your tidbits, I love that, would be a really important asset, because we're going on the app all the way through, literally from abnormal mammograms to years of survivorship. Now, an important point here, Tamara, was your original cancer estrogen receptor positive?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and so you were on either tamoxifen or an aromatase inhibitor or something of that sort, probably for about 5 years. Is that a true statement?
Well, I
Well,
was, and I had such a horrible experience with it
yep.
that I only lasted about a year.
Okay,
And
well,
I
that's
decided, I made the personal decision that I was not going to do that, that my quality of life sucked.
yeah, yeah. You know what? You're not the Lone Ranger. You are not the Lone Ranger. Many women go through this. An important point for those who are watching and who will rewatch when we post this. When it comes to the aromatase inhibitors, there are more side effects than there is with tamoxifen, but there's different kinds of AIs. We call them AIs for short, aromatase inhibitors, and it's trial and error. And there certainly are people exactly like yourself. The reason I bring this whole subject up is the first 5 years after being diagnosed and treated for breast cancer is obviously an important milestone. But in estrogen receptor positive breast cancers, the second and the third 5-year time periods are very, very important as well. The good news in your case was you were lymph node negative, so that you've got a good prognosis right from the beginning. But I wanted to sort of bring home that point that when it comes to estrogen receptor positive cancers, that first 5 years is important, but so is the next 10 years after that. Well, Tamara, as we sort of get near the end of this delightful hangout with you, tell us any further caveats in Pink Lemonade, and tell us how you came up with the title Pink Lemonade.
Oh, that's kind of funny. You know that statement in life, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, I can't believe how many times people said that to me. So when I was thinking about the book and what I was going to do, I thought, well, I definitely made some lemonade here. And of course, you know, it was pink because of the whole breast cancer. So that's it, really, it's a simple reason how I came up with
Okay.
that name. You know, one of the things that you said to me, actually you said to my friend Laura, whom I write about in the book extensively because she was my go-to person. Her and Rana were with me constantly, and my husband was too. But it's a little different for the immediate family, and certainly for a husband. They sometimes aren't your best support system, and I learned that having two really good, strong girlfriends. He loved me, and he was there for me, and we're still together, but there were many areas he was lacking in because he was too close to the situation. So one of the things that you said that I just thought, wow, what a difference. You said to Laura, make sure you guys bring a tape recorder because this is going to be overwhelming. We're going to cover a lot of ground, and I want you to be able to refer back to it. And she and I talked about that later and said, right off the bat, that's such a practical idea that no other doctor had ever suggested to me. They sort of looked funny if I even started to make a note. And I said, but on the other side of that, that comes across, and that is so reassuring because it makes you appear, and you are, so very transparent. So on the up and up, you only want to help me. And so I felt such a peace and such a sense of comfort coming in armed with a tape recorder to hear all that you had to say. And I talk about that in the book. It's like, wow, it seems like such a simple thing, but at the time it was like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, let me follow up on that, and thank you for your compliment. I really appreciate it. You know, as soon as the patient hears breast cancer, they're almost immediately like a deer in the headlights. They're frozen. I make the strong point that I want patients to always have somebody else with them. I do welcome tape recording as well. One of the concepts of breast cancer answers is to put out in plain, ordinary, understandable language the basic concepts that we talk about. You know, when I went through my training over 40 years ago, one size fit all. That was a mastectomy. Everybody got a mastectomy, no matter if you had in situ breast cancer or what. You all got your lymph nodes out. There was no breast reconstruction, I mean, et cetera, et cetera. I am shocked, Tamara, by the number of surgeons who still think that way, that there's sort of one size that fits all. And the reality is there are choices. And to make choices, we've got to go. It usually takes me 2 to 3 visits with each patient to finally come to a decision on what direction we're going to go in, because typically there are choices. And so having it tape recorded is a way to review those choices. Nobody can take in all of the information that we're talking about. Having a strong network of girlfriends or other friends that you talk about, wow, do I strongly support that. You know what? It is overwhelming for your husband. You know, he won't admit it, but I bet if I talked to him quietly, he was scared to death. And his brain is somewhat shut down as well, because he's really afraid he's going to lose his partner. He's going to lose his wife. And that's difficult. And so having, you know, children there, grown adult children there, or others, everybody taking notes, everybody recording, whatever it is really the way to go. Well, listen, we got to wrap this up. Any final thoughts about this wonderful book, Pink Lemonade, that you want to share?
Well, it's been wonderful, and I never thought I would have done something like that. And, you know, I have a strong faith in God, and He pulled me through and surrounded me with loving people and loving doctors like you. And really, that's what it's all about, is giving encouragement to others along with a little education. And something else I just wanted to mention is, as you said, making decisions. I loved, again, what you said. You didn't develop this cancer overnight. You have time to make strong, smart decisions. And quite often, I had people say to me, oh, don't you want to get in there and get it out right away? And I said, that was my immediate thought, But then I realized, you know what? Dr. Harness is right. This didn't happen overnight. I've got a few days, if not a few weeks, that I can make some smart decisions. So, again, things like that is what I put into the book. And when I do my speaking engagements, I not only tell my story, but I share a lot of that information. I have a retreat coming up this weekend up in the mountains that I'm going to be speaking to 350 women. And I spend time with them afterwards, and a lot of them will share their stories. And it's amazing to me how many young breast cancer diagnoses are coming around the corner, and it's just, we need more education. So I am so impressed with what you're doing with your website and your app. I'm amazed. I'm loving that. And I just appreciate the opportunity. If people would like to have me come and speak, that's what I do. I've been a speaker for 30 years, but I haven't been telling my own story. I've been teaching corporate America, so this is a great opportunity for me to speak from my heart and speak from my soul, and all that information's on my website too. So
All right,
they can
Tamara.
go there and see me.
Good. Well, listen, it's been a real delight. Thank you for reminding everyone that time is our friend. She's Tamara K. Severin. It's been a real delight. I love her book, Pink Lemonade. Everybody have a wonderful day. If you need to, go make some pink lemonade. And we'll look forward to seeing you again at a future Google Hangout. Have a great day, and thank you for the privilege of being with you.